love getting lost in places, and this is one of such places. The special thing here is the dragon. I mean, the dragon-shaped kiln.
Why is it called dragon? Because it's very long like a dragon, and then from the mouth of the dragon is where we start the firing. It's like an oven whereby we place all the art pieces inside. Clay will turn into ceramics. In the past, there's no thermometer, so the potters use their eyes to see the color of the flame to measure the temperature. When the temperature is about 1260 degrees Celsius, it's actually transparent white. My name is Stella. I'm the third generation of Thow Pottery jungle. So I grew up living beside this pottery factory. Basically, no neighbors, no friends. We don't have playground, shopping mall just right beside us. We run into the jungle to explore, to look at birds and trees. And we also used to have a big pond where they used to dig out all the clay from that area. And slowly it became very big pond whereby they put in water and then we start to swim around there. Thow Dragon Kiln is built in 1940s. My grandpa bought over this kiln in 1965. So there's two owners before my grandpa. They are immigrants from China and they brought over this technology over to Singapore. In the past, there's more than 10 dragon kilns around this area because of the good quality clay at the backyard. That's why most of the kilns are built here. Wow, more than 10,000. I think. Failure is just very common in pottery making, and every time it fails, just get a lump of clay and redo. At the end of the day, when you see the fired artwork, you feel very contented lah. Just very like, wow, what happened? That kind. When I was young, I wasn't very aware that my families, they are doing something that is so amazing. When I grew up, I slowly start to appreciate that this is something very rare. It has its culture, heritage, and a lot of science behind this dragon kiln that make it very valuable lah. And I hope that this fire continue to burn for more generations.
Stella's passion for her family's craft reminds me of Deslene and her mother, who own a batik label. I can safely say that their family is crazy over batik.
Even though she look like pregnant, but she still like very full. Then the length 够长，可以 cover 后面的根啊。你又讲手肥肥，又要盖手，这个就盖手，盖了又怕很热，所以这边又可以这样子开起来，所以又盖手又凉凉咯。Now as we grow older, we become like we want everybody to know we are a family.
我是杨妈妈。
Hi, I'm Deslene. I am your daughter, and this is my grandma YeoMama. I have two brothers. One is fat Yo Bro, and the younger one used to be Yo Bro, but now he's called getting fat Yo Bro. And Yo Papa. The most unique part is we are using this traditional fabric and make them into modern designs. A lot of people see batik as like 包长长, baggy. People didn't know that batik can be so vibrant.
我在印尼要去旅行，一定啦，你要去 shopping 嘛，在想那边很多 batik 嘛，人在想，哎呀，不然我来卖 batik 嘛，本来是卖胖人的，因为胖人的很难买衣服嘛，我就在想啊，我来打给电视卖胖人的衣服，问他要不要，他讲可以啊，可以啊。
That time I broke my ankle, so I just recovered from my ankle surgery. I remember I was lying in bed, my leg in the cast and it's like that. Then 妈妈打电话来，我就like okay 咯。All the punny jokes. YeoMama so fat, her butt jiggles when she walks. And then just as my surname is Yo, and then because mother is Indonesian, so we call it like YeoMama Batik. We design when we meet our tailors and seamstresses. They are all based in Indonesia. I want to make like a V-neck dress. Then they do a V-neck like so high up because I think they're very conservative. Then I'm like, can you bring it down lower? Really? You want so low? I said, yeah. Then they're like, oh. Batik is actually a technique, the wax printing technique. Each piece of batik is like an artwork. There's like a border to it and there's like birds flying around. Whereas a digitally printed fabric, you see like the same motif repeated everywhere. It's having this motif at the correct placement that makes things unique. My relationship now with YeoMama is better because last time when I'm young, I feel that she always nag at me. Why me out of my brothers? Then only now when we start this, I realize she scold me for my own good, and then I feel like crying.
Because my youngest is very naughty.
Yeah,
She was
very
a monster.
naughty.
Everything throw inside the water.
She's still a monster.
The storybook, the cassette.
I'm Destiny the Destroyer. When I was young, there's many occasions where I feel like my parents don't understand me. And then eventually when you grow up, you start to try and think from their perspective. Then you realize that actually what they've been doing is just for your own good.
都是为了你。
Yeah!
我能够打开这个市场是真的是
Why
在
you
新
touch
加
my
坡。
eyebrow?
每次我要讲他要骂他，因为我是差不多整齐的人。
不是差不多，是很整齐啊！哇
super 整齐
，super 整齐啊！OCD ultimate OCD maximum 包包。
因为我怕我们哦，改次没有讲给他听，改次很乱嘛。
不要骂他啦，他一直哭，算了啦，你不要去骂他，他已经做到这样还要骂。
See, coming from my ama, so it's good that my ama stay at home. You know, she will shield me. Yo.
I asked Stella if there were durian trees here. Not anymore, she said. So I guess I'll have to make my way to Sembawang to visit my kind friend Durian Seng.
每年我的生日的时候，我都会送榴莲。老婆省钱反对咯，为什么做到这样辛苦，一定要拿榴莲送人家吃呢？那因为我很骄傲了，我跟他讲，我是大谢这个顾客而已。是吧？他送他会介绍人家给你买榴莲啊，送榴莲是送给他们开心的。我姓叶名叫健生，人家叫我榴莲称。 这一行做了差不多40年了。早早的时候我是卖薄饼的，后来听人家说卖榴莲很好玩。我第一次卖榴莲就在 Grass Garut 啊。他说安哥，我买10多年了，我不会认的。每个人认我一个人的，真的。我好像明星吗？明星会认得你们吗？不可能嘛！我就是榴莲明星来的。 那时候生意为什么会这样好？一些女孩子她怀孕的时候，家婆就带她来买榴莲，对身体很健康。现在外面谣传说榴莲有放药水，年轻人就有点怕，说吃了等下那个 baby 不健康。老人家呢糖尿病多，他又怕吃榴莲。 只是会选一个来讲我喜欢就吃那个黑珍珠咯，这个叫黑珍珠的种子，黑珍珠有人外号叫太阳，所以它的芯就是这样小，这个芯我们是拿去晒太阳，那变黑色的，明天呢一张名片可以换1粒榴莲，现场吃，吃完为止，不好可以马上再换。 不要说叫这样多，假如明天你所讲的，有些人不知道，还是下一场雨我就要抱住的，吃得完了我就开心。
So much for Sembawang. Looks like I'm at the old Bukit Timah railway station. Trains used to run from Singapore to several straits in Malaysia at one point of time. I remember there was another train station, Tanjong Pagar, and I've heard about a famous biryani stall there. We connect so many things to a train, yet my memories will always bring me back to the canteen by the railway and its food. The rich and creamy teh tarik, the chapati, and the nasi biryani?
This is how I started at the railway, and I'm still maintaining the standard like that. It took me so many years to get the right spices. So I want to maintain the taste. And you want to ask me the technique of cooking this, I won't tell you. Some of my customers who were at railway station still don't know I'm here. So when they come here, they say, oh, you're here. I've been searching for you around. My name is Muhammad Ali. During my days in Tanjong Pagar, there was a lot of people who came and write about my biryani, a lot of articles as well. When the train is coming about a quarter miles away, we can know because of the whistle. Oh, the 3 o'clock train is coming in. And when the train starts to move, every day I see new people. They take the train from JB to all the train stop. And some of them stay back, have breakfast in the evening. When the commuters want to board the train, before they board, they sit down, they drink tea, coffee, some Malay quiz or this and that. Train came from KL, a big group, sometimes they come in group, a tourist group, this and that. So one guy came to my shop, put out his hand, can I have some rice? Says, I was surprised. Took the rice, had some, and he says, okay, 25 plates. That kind of experience. When they announced the closure of the station, wow, it was hectic, so crowded. But to the sellers, I think some of them really give up business. They said enough of it. Some of them don't know where they went, I don't know what they do, I don't know. But it was very emotional. We've been there for so long. Every time we see, we joke with each other, we disturb. Then all of a sudden, prior to the closure, one by one is been phased out. So the day when they leave, they come and see us. Bang, I'm not going to see you anymore. I'm going here. That was very emotional too. Really, the nostalgic thing would never come back. Never come back.
Seeing the station standing quietly now, I try to imagine what it must have been like in its heyday. Uncle Amin told me stories of growing up in the village, and it's nice to see that the mosque he visited in his childhood still stands today.
This used to be a kampung tengah with many houses before. Here, and here, where my house used to stand. Behind it is a beach. Another side is Johor Bahru. There was huge rubber plantation before. Left now is one rubber tree still maintained until now. Beside the history rubber tree is one of the last kampung mosques in Singapore. My name is Muhammad Amin. I'm a chairman at the Masjid Petempatan Melayu, Sembawang. This mosque was built in early 60s. At that time, they go door to door, collect 50 cents per house until they got enough money to build the mosque. The jungle down there been cut off for the new housing come up. So I think the poor animal got nowhere to go, So we could take care and prepare food. Other monkeys will share the food. And during the breakfast, all people come down to the mosque here and then they breakfast together with them and then they do the night prayer together. At night, on the lights, like what you see Nachia Road, you can see here, you see. You feel really in kampung, with the light, the wave from the sea, then you feel like kampung life. I grew up in these areas, I born in these areas, and this is my kampung, this is my life.
Kampong Glam looks especially pretty in the evening lights, and with the smell of food and perfume floating through Singapore's oldest urban quarter, I'm reminded of the siblings I met, who are affectionately known as the Perfume Kids.
Growing up in a perfume family, my dad used to play this game where he used to test something on my skin, and he always used to get me to guess it.
We were known as the Perfume Kids in school because we'd smell perfume all the time. My name is Kazura. I'm helping my dad with his perfume business. The business was started by my grandfather in 1933. Back then it was a general merchant store, so when my dad took over, he focused mainly on the perfumes, perfume bottles and essential oils.
Just down the street from Jamal Kazura is Arab Street, where Sapphire Aromatics is. Hey, my name is Radia. I'm the youngest of the Kazura. I'm actually working with my brother Johari Kazura, who's actually an owner of Sifar Aromatics. My brother Johari was actually working for my dad, and in 2011 he decided to start this shop, Sifar Aromatics, as his own brand, and it's a bit more modern as compared to my dad's shop, which is a bit more traditional.
So the perfumes we sell here, they're all perfume oils. They don't contain any alcohol. Usually the smell is not so overpowering, but it lasts a lot longer.
Here we have the non-alcoholic version and the alcoholic version. So here we actually customize each and every scent. So we actually have our own recipe for each perfume, and they're all small batch perfumes. Sometimes we get customers who come in, and when we realize that we don't have that ingredient, we just run down to Jamal Kazura just to get it.
We've got at least 100 different blends in-house, and we use ingredients from everywhere. From the 1930s, my grandfather had established a good network of partners, suppliers. We still do business with the same people. Making a blend of perfume, it's like cooking. You know, you have all the different raw ingredients, and it's up to how good you are with a sense of smell to produce something that's good. This is something that I am learning and my siblings are learning.
I never knew about traffic light cake until I met Albert and Kelvin here. They also shared some of the stories behind the old school treats that they continue to make every day.
Originally, my family owned a shop called Tong Lok Wee back in the early 90s. We found that a lot of the cakes and recipes that we used to sell is vanishing from the market. For example, 3-hole cookie, chocolate tart, almond fingers.
You can't find in the bakery cookbook. So if we don't do it, the product will disappear. So is my name.
I'm Kelvin. I'm a 4th generation baker, and I run Tongpo Colonial Cafe. Because my father is the keeper of all the recipes. What good will I do if my brother who don't know how to bake at all?
I like to learn. I have studied baking in Europe, Paris, and I also go to baking school in Germany. If we stop learning, stop improving, then we will be phased out. As far as my brain's still working, give me another 10, 20 years, I still can compete with a young baker.
I love hearing his stories, even though I hear them like countless times, millions of times. For example, our long cup, in the past, they actually used the water pipes and they chop it down because they couldn't afford proper loaf tins and stuff, so they improvised. These were the cakes that came out from a generation that had nothing and were born through blood, sweat and tears. As with all working partners, there will be differences in ideas and the directions that we all take.
It's not a generation gap, it's right and wrong. See who is right, who is...
That's great. It's generation gap. Like for example, when it comes to westernized baking, you do it with recipes, follow instructions. Old generation bakers, they tend to be more intuitive. So my uncle taught me how to beat the buttercream for the first time. My uncle said, "Hey, why have you not stopped? It's already turned white." After a few more rounds, then you realize the peel that he mentioned is just a tiny change in the tint of the butter.
你觉得有什么改变？
他是问你耶。
我看到他比较吃苦 ，compared to my other children.
I didn't know he's the joking type as well.
Getting older and older, lazier and lazier.
Sometimes when you eat old school cakes, you're not just eating old school cakes. You know, you're also eating the memories of the past, the values that go into the old school cakes, and remembering the values that made Singapore where it is.
Why do people hold on to the past so closely to their hearts? Nostalgia? Sentimental value? I had this thought as I walked through Michael's vintage shop, and I like to think of that place as a space for memories.
My main task is more like a mama shop. You come in, 20 cents also have, 50 cents also have, or 500 also have. My name is Michael Po. I have been in this vintage business for almost 20 years. I tend to have connect with all those Karang-Guni people, informers they call it. Some people are selling this away, can you come over? And so when I go to people's house, I collect a lot of nonsense things, So I just collect. I ask the owner, hey, don't want, I pick it up. And then I pick it up, I never know that I'm going to sell it. As a collector, I just collect. Those days I was very crazy with cokes. In my bedroom, in my toilets, everywhere. One of the reporters came, interviewed me. It was out in the paper. A lot of people contacted me. I tell myself, wow, there's so many things in my house. I have to decide whether to become a collector or become a business. So I choose to be in a business. Customers are very funny. When they come in, you thought you hit the jackpot. They come in, this one you want, that one you want, you take out from the top, bring down, everything bring down. And later, he never ask any question. He say, okay, oh, here how much? I say 5,000. His eye open so bright, he say, 5,000 Then I think I can't buy And he just walk off. Sometimes very disappointed, but can't be helped. Some certain collectors, they just buy for a few years, they will sell it. Genuine collectors, they buy it, I think they won't sell it. They are so happy to have owned something, they will keep it. I developed the free market in China Square for almost, I think, 12 to 13 years. I continue here in Fook Hai Building. I think Singapore the only free market ongoing every Sunday. It's not easy for this line. It's not like any other trade. It takes a long time to establish yourself. Some people will find this value in this, some people will not. Some of the younger generation, they don't really fancy all this. Parents and all that, whoever leave it down, and then they think, no point for us to keep. They will throw away. It's a part of history. For future generations to come, they will know what it's all about. If we can help, why not? Of course, I love what I'm doing. Every day, I will meddle with my things. I will sure have something to do. You must have a passion for what you do. If you don't love your job, you will never go far.
That little girl of 5'2", amazing things that she could do.
I see the sky every day, and every day I see different hues and different shaped clouds. It all seems familiar, yet novel at the same time, and always, always beautiful. Where shall I explore tomorrow?